Hello, boys and girls. You are now listening and watching a Peter's special. And this is Peter Talks NXT Takeover London. Yes, this is Peter Talks Takeover London. Again, NXT isn't really my wheelhouse of reviews and things of that nature. But when it comes around to the special events that are the WWE Network specials, I feel like I follow the brand enough to at least talk about their big shows. If you tuned in yesterday or you've listened today to the Peter and Jake Talks Wrestling podcast episode 70, me and Jake, we actually talked a little bit about it. We didn't go into a full-on review because we both individually, him for his Faster Than World podcast and me for the PJTW channel, we wanted to sort of give more in-depth analysis in our own individual podcast, and also it was such a loaded show, episode 70 with that, and then with TLC, and then with Raw, that we could only give but so much time. But being that, if you listened to it, we talked about a little bit. But now I get to go deeper into how I feel about certain individuals and how the matches went, and so on and so forth. So if you haven't yet, go back one video, and it's Peter and Jake Talks Wrestling, or one audio bit. Peter and Jake Talks Wrestling episode 70. If you're on YouTube, it's in 4 parts. 2 parts for Raw, 1 part for TLC, and then 1 part for the Takeover. So that's for if you're on YouTube. If you're listening, it's just one back, episode 70, and you hear what I had to say about, the discussions that me and Jake had over wrestling over the past couple of days. And man, it's been a lot of fucking wrestling, but a lot of big news coming in, title changes, storyline shifts, everything, man. And I am eating sour grapes about, I won't say I'm eating sour grapes, but it seems that my lack thereof fanship of Roman Reigns seems as if I don't like the guy, or I have something against him or anything like that. I don't know the guy. I'm not one of those guys, one of those wrestling fans that talk and hot takes and try to talk about things I don't know about a certain individual. Just like music. If I'm not listening to a type of music, it's not because I think it's bad. It's because I can't relate to it. There's nothing that can pull me in, nothing that convince me of this. And I'm not trying to turn it into a Roman Reigns thing, but since this week, it's probably been the most comments I've gotten. And it's not a lot of comments, but it's comments. And it's comments on, Roman Reigns and people starting to like him. And I go, all right, that's cool. I mean, I think that's pretty amazing, but I don't want you guys to get it twisted. It's not like a hatred. He's not going anywhere anytime soon. So, I have to obviously deal with that. And I guess at some point, maybe, just maybe, he'll come around. I'll come around, but maybe he won't. I still don't think he's done enough. I still don't think he has enough movesets in his repertoire. Kick, punch, slap, kick, punch, clothesline just doesn't work for me. And there's no body of work for him to be at the level that he is. He's a pretty boy. He has the look, and and wrestling is a cosmetic sport, man. More than anything, this sport is cosmetic. It is, and I get that, but that's just one of the things that go along with winning someone over in terms of getting fanship. And if people are drinking the Kool-Aid, man, more power to you. More power to you, and I hope you enjoy your fanship of Roman. I hope Roman Reigns ends up, being like the top guy and being a future Hall of Famer and all that, man. I really do hope for that. But in terms of would there ever be a time that I will root for the guy? I don't see it. I just don't see it. And it's far beyond me liking him or not. Because it's not that I don't like him. I just don't care for him. So with that out of the way, let's go into this takeover. And it's from London. They've been hyping it up for weeks. A lot of storylines, betrayal, revenge, envy, a lot of those things. And the card itself was Asuka versus Emma. And Asuka versus Emma spawns off of Asuka's debut. And Emma and Dana Brooke showing up to basically spoil her arrival. And this is just a big, Asuka's already beating the shit out of Dana Brooks. And Emma is basically in line to, take down one. Let's see if you can take down the other. And the build for Emma over the past couple of weeks has been brilliant. I love Evil Emma. It's interesting to see. I think she stands out in this role. And Asuka, she's just kicking ass and taking names. She super unique. It's something different in the WWE, and this has nothing but greatness just awaits it. We also have Kaz and Enzo versus Dash and Dawson, and this is a storyline of revenge. Kaz and Enzo were taken out by Dash and Dawson after they won the number one contendership to the belt. Dash and Dawson since then has become the NXT champions, the tag team champions, and Kaz and Enzo are in a situation where they want not only they deserve their number one contendership to face them for the belts, but they also want to just revenge on those assholes in the first place. You got Corbin and Cruz. This spawns from basically Corbin interrupting Apollo Cruz's title number one contendership shot at Finn Balor. They just, between him and Joe, they came in and fucked up that entire match. And Corbin went out to Cruz to sort of, like, you don't deserve a championship shot, I deserve a championship spot. So this is a revenge. What's been happening with Cruz is that he's been an angry person. When he first showed up to the NXT roster and he got his first couple of wins, he's been all smiles. Well, since this has gone down, he hasn't been all smiles. And Corbin is just more and more becoming more of a self-centered jerk. Nia Jax versus Bayley. The cards have been stacked against Bayley on a corporate sense. Since she's won the championship, she hasn't had, to me, not so much success as in having a successful reign, because the women's division is very much lacking. They had her against Alexa Bliss. I guess female heels. They had her against Alexa Bliss, and that had more to do with Blake and Murphy and the Hype Bros than it seemed more to do with Bayley. And then she went up against Ava Marie, and one of my favorite plots in wrestling this year. The fix is in. Michael Cole came in. Little Nate came in, and it's just to stack the deck against her that for this person, Ava Marie, that is nowhere close to being in wrestling form to win the championship. I thought that was great. So Nia Jax I would say quote unquote teamed up with Eva Marie, and she's just basically next in line for the belt. I don't remember how she got a number one contendership for the belt, but I think it's just a matching up of, hey, you want it, come get some, And then the main event is Joe and Balor, Samoa Joe and Balor. And the storyline here is Joe has actually been homies with Balor for the past 10 years. And, because they've both respectively been working the independents and doing their thing, say whether in TNA or New Japan, they've known each other for a while. Since both of them have been in the NXT, they've been teaming up. Dusty Cup, the tag team, they teamed up, won the cup together. Joe, the entire time, wanted a shot at the belt. When he asked for a shot at the belt, he didn't get it, and he felt that Balor didn't do enough to give him the belt. So Joe turned on him and felt that he was deserving for a belt, a title shot, and he got it here. So let's go down what happened in these matches. So you got Asuka versus Emma. Again, a sleeper of a feud, in terms of it could kind of get mixed up in the shuffle, but I thought it stood out. Emma stands out, Asuka stands out. In my eyes, I've always been a fan of Emma. It sucks that she's still, licking the wounds of her stealing like a fucking iPad cover. I still wonder how that's working out, but since I think she won a shoot match, she pinned, I think she pinned Charlotte or something. She pinned somebody, 1, 2, 3, and they were like, all right, maybe this is like a golden opportunity for us to use her. And she's in a good spot. They turned her evil. She's more aggressive. She's hot as fuck. Well, anyway, you got Dana Brooks at ringside. And what Emma has been able to do since Asuka has been on the roster and just taking out chicks, just taking out who's ever in her way, she's been able to dictate the pace. If someone's, going at her, she throws them in a lock, or she gets her strong kicks and punches in and wears them down. Not here. Emma has been looking at some tape, and she's coming into this match ready. She's dictating the pace. And that's what made this match in itself interesting. Probably one of the more interesting matches we've seen of Asuka, or probably will see of Asuka. And you have to give kudos to Emma. She's one tough broad. Because since Asuka's been here, we've seen her do some strikes, but not to the level of this match. And then with Dana Brooks on the outside, she's definitely earning her money. Like, she makes a really good valet. She makes a really good sidekick. She's out there working her ass off. So she's just as much in this match as, say, Emma is. You get the hard strikes from Asuka. Again, we're probably, I guess, I wonder moving forward, will other divas want to take those strikes, those kicks? That's going to be a huge factor. Like, who wants to take that shit? It's not like the men, say you want your Divas Revolution all you want. I mean, these girls do not want to take the licks that the men take. They just won't. Or you would see more demand for it. So, moving forward, I'll be curious to see how they take on Asuka and how she's going to react offensively. But she got her shit in on Emma. There is a point where Asuka's trying to put in the Asuka lock, and Emma's doing any and everything to fight out of it, like just fight out of it. Then she gets dirty. She grabs the ref and then backs Asuka into the ref, so the ref takes a bump. And then Dana Brooks, while the ref is out, throws her belt in, just like a metal belt. Like, it's like a leather belt with like chains wrapped around it. So she throws that shit in, and they fight. They fight over the belt. Like, Asuka and Emma fight over the belt, and then the ref comes to after Asuka basically fights the belt out of Emma's hands. So Emma's down, and you're thinking the ref is about to throw the match because there's a foreign object. You got to watch out for those foreign objects. And Emma is on the floor. But I wish that it would have been called in Emma's favor because of that. Because there's no pinfall, there's no nothing. There's other matches on the card that can have finishes. Asuka seems unstoppable. And I think this would have been a good idea to let Emma get the win playing the heel, because, again, the heels are lackluster. I mean, you got Ava Marie, you got Nia Jax, and you got Alexa Bliss, but, like, Emma's been there longer. I think she can hold up to the thing. I think she could really work more as a heel, and her and Dana Brooke are like, I think they're a good team. and they can be a thorn in someone's side. But they didn't go that route. They didn't throw the match. They kept the match going. The ref started hollering at Dina Brooke because she got back on the apron, and it seems as if Emma was about to sock fucking Asuka with the belt. Referee seeing it all, but she blocks it, and she gets hits with a because here's the thing. She does get her in the Emma lock. I apologize. She does get her in the Emma lock. Dana's on the fucking she's on the apron. The ref doesn't see Emma tapping out. She doesn't see Emma tapping out. So Asuka, she taps out. The ref doesn't see it. Asuka thinks the ref sees it, so she lets loose of the fucking hold. She walks over to Dina to fucking knock her ass off the damn apron. Meanwhile, Emma cuffs the belt to hit her, and she's met with a roundhouse, a real sick roundhouse that knocks her ass out and takes her out for the 1-2-3 victory. Now it seems that feud is done. What's next for Asuka? We find out later on. Kaz and Enzo versus Dash and Dawson. And if anybody who watches me, who hears me or anything, I am not a fan of Dash and Dawson. I'm just not. They look like a bunch of ham and eggers. Them with the belts look just as corny as Blake and Murphy with the belts. Like those guys on any fucking promotion, I guess, whatever. If you're the independents, you don't have to have the look. Again, what I was saying earlier, it is a very cosmetic business that we're in. Amazingly cosmetic. And those guys don't look like anybody I should take serious. They look like a bigger version of J&J Security. That's what they look like to me. And at this time, they're the damn NXT championship, NXT Tag Team Champions. They won it off of the Vaudevillains, which was another silly tag team. And they're going up against Kaz and Enzo. And I predicted that Kaz and Enzo was like, give them the fucking spot. You know, like they're good. They're over. I understand the chase to the belt is one thing, but like I just don't ever see them getting the belt anyway. I think they're better off without the belt, it seems, if this is the route that they're going. They cut great promos. Like it's like if I had a pound for every time we got knocked down and didn't get back up, I had 0 pounds. Just Enzo, man, he does his damage. During the match, they attack Kaz's knee that took them out in the first place. That took them out as a tag team in the first place. Kaz and Enzo. A lot of chaos, hot tag, big Kaz, chaos, just him cleaning house, hot tag, and they finally hit the big when they toss Enzo on top of the thing. Before the 3 count, I don't know who the fuck's in there, whether it's Dash or Dawson. Well, the teammate pulled Enzo off for the 1-2-3 victory. Everyone in London is going nuts. Again, it's a good match. Ring psychology is great. I mean, again, whatever, man. It's an aesthetics thing. They cut off the ring on Enzo for a hot minute, but either way, they get to the end where you're thinking Enzo and Kaz are about to take it with the big splash, the big assisted splash, but he's yanked off. They grab Carmella. She's put in the middle of them. She turns around, smacks the shit out of whoever the hell just grabbed her, one of Dash and Dawson guys. The rep sees it, doesn't throw anybody out, doesn't throw Carmella out, doesn't disqualify Kaz and Enzo because someone interfered, which I thought was very strange. But it ended with Dash and Dawson getting the win with their big move, the big I guess you would call a code breaker off the top rope, tossing Enzo off the top buckle into that code breaker to the face. And those fucking ham and eggers, is what got my thing. Those ham and eggers won. And it took the air out of the room. It really did. It took the air out the room. Because everyone was sitting back expecting that maybe that this was the time that Kaz and Enzo was going to get the belts. I predicted they would win the belts, give them this moment. Hell, I had all the baby faces winning tonight. But this was one of the times where the heels won. And what's to become of Kaz and I give a fuck about Dash and Dawson, honestly. It's all about what happens with Enzo Amore. Do they go to the main roster? Do they become the next Ascension? Because, again, if the Ascension is on the fucking main event roster right now, it's a fucking miracle. So they're missing a tag team. And I would hate for them to go up. I would like for them to win the NXT Tag Team belt and go with momentum as champions. But it seems that's not going to be the case. So we'll find out in the next couple weeks, because this is, again, it's a downtime until the Royal Rumble. And on both sides of the spectrum for NXT and the main roster. We get Corbin and Cruz. And this is a decent enough match. This is all about Corbin. Corbin had the most offense the entire time. This reminded me of when Apollo Crews first debuted against Ty Dillinger, where he doesn't at all get a lot of offense, or any offense at all. All he gets is a couple of shots at the end. He does a finisher, 1-2-3 victory. Here, it looks like the same thing was about to happen. Corbin controlled this match, tossing. You saw flashes of athleticism from Apollo Crews, but you're thinking at some point he's going to, just fight it out and win. There's a point where he's thrown over the top buckle to the outside. He lands. He slaps the stairs outside, and Corbin runs over, and he's like, "You should have stayed in ROH. You should have stayed in Ring of Honor. You should have stayed home." And I just go, whoa, where did that come from? I know you're healing it up and you're trying to make, I guess you're shitting on the indies. Like I'm not an indie guy. I'm just a kick-ass wrestler. I don't need ROH. That's one of the things that most people don't like about him, that he doesn't have a background in the independents. And Uhaa Nation, now Apollo Crews, that's his whole shtick, that he was just running the independents, PWG, I think, and also what the hell is that other one? Evolve. That's what he got him from. But I don't remember him ever being ROH. That's the thing. Even though he fucked up, he was never. It still was cool to hear him yell, "You should have never left ROH." But Corbin wins with an end of days out of nowhere. You're thinking maybe because he had the offense the entire thing, the ring psychology, babyface get the beat down, and he just comes back at some point. But nope, he catches the end of days, and the place was like, what? And I was like, what? And then boom. 1-2-3 victory. First loss for Apollo Crews. And that's the thing about this NXT. And I joke about NXT being a developmental developmental thing down there. It's an organization, developmental organization to get these guys up. If you want to talk about wins and losses, it's one thing on the indies, right? Because ROH is its own entity. It has its world belt that's been around for quite some time. That's actually got those guys to the WWE. But that was a developmental. If you don't ever make it to the WWE, you still have your independent career ahead of you, whether it's working with New Japan and ROH or whatever independent booking you can get your hands on, right? You can lose in NXT, and it's completely fine. Even though wins and losses matter. They should. But this is, for Apollo Crews to lose, it's not this big deal. It really isn't. I think he's completely okay that he loses. I know I talk about Enzo and Amore, but they've been around for a while. I just want them to have their spot as a champion for once, just to get that moment for them, because they're so over. Apollo Crews is still getting over I don't think this is knocking him down off the rung. Very much like the women's division in NXT, the men's division too lack in heels. Lack like hell in heels. Dash and Dawson, whatever, man. Samoa Joe, to a certain extent, even in his feud now, he's acting as a heel, but it's not that he's an asshole because he likes being mean. He just wants a shot at the belt. That's it. He felt deserving of a shot at the belt because he thinks he's the best. Corbin is just an arrogant fool, and he's an arrogant asshole. His whole thing is that he doesn't want to be liked. Regardless, he doesn't want to be liked. He just wants to kick ass, take names, and get paid. That's his whole shtick. So you want to build up reputable heels in development to bring him up to the main roster at some point. Again, he's still green as goose shit, but this is a start. And at the same time, on the babyface side for Cruz, he can take this loss. It's fine. It's completely fine. I think maybe they can write up something to where he goes, I took my eye off the ball. I was so angry. I wasn't having fun. And so that's why Corbin got the best of me. Maybe they get a rematch. Maybe they won't. Who cares? It's time for Corbin to move up the rungs a little bit. Maybe to challenge for the belt now. Maybe. And maybe it's more for Apollo Crews to still get his bearings as an up-and-comer on the NXT roster. Nia Jax is in the back cutting a promo, and then guess who shows up? Asuka. Asuka's haunting the living shit out of her. You hear a huge pop when Nia Jax is like, well, excuse me, you see something you like or some shit like that? They pan over, it's Asuka. Just haunting Asuka. And the crowd pops, I pop. I'm like, all right, next opponent. Bring it on. She's going for the big girl, too, which is like, okay. Because it's not like she's going to go after Alexa Bliss. She going to need to go against someone who's going to take those blows because there's no turning back after this match with Emma. There's no turning back. She's given enough licks to where if she scales down, we'll get it. Like, hey, now, don't sell us short on your wrestling ability outside of your fucking locks and holds. You do strike, and you strike hard. Nia Jax, big enough girl to be able to take those bumps and bruises, more so than Emma. So Nia Jax finishes her promo how she's basically going to beat the shit out of Bayley. And then we get to the Nia Jax Bayley thing. Now I could either go, what happens in this match? Or I could just, because I need to cut this. Well, basically, how about this? Because I watched this match again along with the main event because in the discussion with Jake, he was saying some things. I was like, I don't think I caught that. But so I watched it again. I watched the Finn Balor versus Joe match as well. And what I could get out of this is that Nia Jax threw everything she had at Bayley. Now, is this about Nia Jax? This match about Nia Jax and how she isn't as big and bad as she should be? Or is Bayley becoming like the female Cena? And we saw this fucking firsthand. Like the bigger, badder girl that weighs more, that just crushing her the entire match. Leg drops, Samoan drops, fucking you name it. You threw it at her. She was able to kick out. Nia Jax, they're building her to be a monster. They're building her to be a threat, an unstoppable force. She's unstoppable, but she's not unstoppable to Bayley. Now, again, developmental conversation time. Was this match and everything she threw at Bayley, was that it for Nia? Was that it? Like, did she destroy every single move? Because one big leg would just take out somebody, One big leg, one Samoan drop, take out boom, boom, boom. But she got hit with like 3 Samoan drops. She got hit with like 8 big legs. And even though her pins were cocky, like one where she stepped on her chest, another where, she just basically like didn't really put her down. But Bayley kept kicking out. And she wins basically with guillotines. There's no, Bayley normally tosses people around. Her finisher is belly to Bayley, Bayley to belly, or whatever the fuck you want to call it. And she's doing, suplexes and she's tossing her opponents around normally, because once you really think about it, Bayley's not a small girl. She's not at all. I mean, she is a big girl. Like, not a big girl as in like big, but like if you really look at her and the people that she's gone up against, the only person that's actually been bigger than her that she's gone up against is Charlotte Flair. But she actually weighs more than Charlotte Flair. So in this match alone, it had everything with her kicking out of her Nia Jax's huge moves and applying holds. Whether it's a guillotine, whether it's sleepers, whether it's all this stuff. And the storyline is that Nia Jax can't go down, and she doesn't go down. In the conversation yesterday with Jake, he mentions that Nia Jax falls on her butt. And I'm like, I don't remember her falling on her butt. But she's talking about the last sequence of the match where it's a third guillotine that's put on, where Nia Jax finally lands on her butt and taps out. And Bayley wins. I had every babyface winning. I didn't think that it would end this way. There wasn't enough heat on Nia Jax. The crowd doing the whole like, "Hey Bayley, I want to know, would you be my girl?" took away from the match itself. It took a lot away. I wish that Eva Marie was out there earning her money to keep the heat on Nia, to keep the heat on Eva. There wasn't a lot of heat going around in this. It was basically the crowd going into business for themselves. Nia Jax still as green as she possibly can as a heel, trying to get heel heat where she actually like turns to the crowd, mocks the crowd. But that wasn't enough because people were still basically just cheering for Bayley, and it's great that they cheer for Bayley. But as a heel, if I was Nia Jax and I was in that ring, I felt like I didn't do my job properly, because I want the heat on me. Like Corbin got a lot of heat. Dash and Dawson got a lot of heat, even though the fans were for the baby faces. They were, but there was instances and all those like Emma and Dina, like they all got heel heat. The only lacking of heel heat that existed in this entire pay-per-view was this match in Nia Jax. And she was kind of left out into the cold. And it sucks for her. Not only to have everything kicked out and not to be considered a strong enough heel to take down the biggest babyface in the NXT company, or to even pose as some sort of threat. She just shows that no matter what she threw at her, it wasn't good enough. And if anything, that screams babyface to me. And that's what I'll say about that. Where we go with Nia Jax moving forward, I think they're going to hook her and Asuka up. We'll see with that. Who's next for Bayley? Maybe they go back to the Eva Marie storyline, maybe. But at this time, I don't even know. It looks like they're trying to build up Peyton Royce right now. So we'll see. I mean, they got some girls that haven't made TV yet, so we'll see what happens moving forward with Bayley and then how soon she makes it to the main roster. Final, the main event, a match that I watched again was Samoa Joe versus Finn Balor again. A friendship ruined, over the belt. And Finn Balor is Jack the Ripper, which I thought was pretty funny. He's the Jack the Demon. And before he comes on, when they do the whole heartbeat thing, and they show the graphic of him as Jack the Ripper, and he's walking towards the camera, and then you just hear like a slash. Then from the screen you see blood dripping. You hear a girl scream. I go like, "Whoa! All right now." I don't know if that was a problem. I mean, toughen up if it was a problem. But the first thing I thought was like, "Well, who the fuck did this offend?" You know, Jack the Ripper. If you haven't tuned into who the fuck Jack the Ripper was, but he was a Freemason. Come to find out, he was a Freemason that was going out, and he was a serial killer. He was slashing the throat of the prostitutes on the London streets. This is back in the Renaissance period, like way back in the fucking day. But yeah, they took it there. I thought that was pretty crazy. And he also, on his back, because each place he's been, when he's the demon, he has a representation of wherever he is. And this time he had a crazy Jack the Ripper in front of the London Tower, Big Ben behind. There's Big Ben, and then there's Jack the Ripper with jagged teeth. So that's the demon that he's possessing. Joe, he's just Joe. He's just in there. He's about to kick some ass. And one of the things that, One of the things that Jake talked about was like how he thought that Finn Balor, because as much as Jake, and if you watch us, again, Peter and Jake Talks Wrestling, he loves NXT. If I try to say anything about NXT, he'll shoot me down or whatever. That's why I even came up with NXT is developmental, is to basically challenge the things that happen in NXT. Maybe you think, if you're listening, maybe you think that NXT is perfect. It's not. It's not perfect at all. To me, it's still a developmental thing, but I do fuck with Jake about it. But out of all the people that I wouldn't think that he wasn't really 100% behind, he's not 100% behind Finn Balor. He's just not. I think he's a fan, but like even we talked before, he's like, nah, he's not my guy. He's not my guy. And I go, wow, it blows my mind. And one of his things, and that's why I felt I had to watch it again, what he felt that Finn Balor got more offense in than Joe did. And he did. Now, was it more or less Joe getting offense getting collectively more offense? Maybe. But I felt Joe did enough to where he posed a presence. He actually posed a threat. But that was definitely a lot of offense from Finn Balor. There's one, Mike Chioda Jr. in the ring. I don't know who this guy was, but he reminded me so much of Mike Chioda. The way he talks, the way he's threatening the guys and all that stuff. Just, I thought it was Mike Chioda at first. I had to check. Maybe this is his little brother or something, but fucking almost dead ringer. There's one spot. The only spot that really impressed me in this was a spot where Joe puts Finn Balor in the Boston Crab, puts him in a crab, puts him in a crossface, and then he stretches his ass out. He had to let it go because Finn was on the rope. But nevertheless, that was probably the only one technical thing that stood out. But for the most part, it was just Balor running around, jumping around, kicking and punching and slapping and flying around. And Joe basically just trying to slow him down. What I wrote down right here, it's a struggle of no cells and reverses. That's what this was. This was what the match was. It was a struggle of no cells and reverses. And nobody could really stay down. It was 50-50. Again, kind of match where you didn't get a lot. Joe, again, showed his presence. The crowd was split. You had Joe fans, you had Finn fans, which definitely draws into the whole dynamic of who to root for or who to root for, who to boo against, who gets more offense, where does the psychology lies. And I think about it. I thought about it. And I go, Joe, as a heel in this instance, isn't that he's an asshole? And what I said earlier, he felt deserving to go after the belt. He just felt that the belt was something that he deserved a crack at. It's not that he's an asshole or someone who's making someone's life a living hell. He goes, I'm new here. I kicked ass. I feel like I have a shot at the belt. I want that shot at the belt. Meanwhile, Finn Balor, he's a demon. He's painting himself up. He's dressed up as Jack the Ripper. And he's stomping on him. And, it's so crazy that, aesthetic wise, Finn Balor should be the asshole. He should be the person that you should root against. But, they're building him up as basically the next. And this whole demon thing, the whole long interest thing, I mean, he's no different than, he's an Undertaker type, But he did get his share of offense, which left Joe in defense the whole time. And Joe trying to do all his moves and Finn no-selling, basically. Or reversing it. And, you get a coup de grace, him reversing out of, I think, a third, what do they call that package? I would just call it the Samoa bomb, over the fuck, that small package shit. I'm drawing a blank right now of the name of that fucking move, but you know what I'm talking about, the small package. The Muscle Buster, that's it, the Muscle Buster. He reverses a third Muscle Buster, kicks him, and then coup de grace, and then he wins the championship. He retains the championship. Now, moving forward, what happens with Joe? I predicted that Joe would lose. Why? Because I go like, okay, Joe, he can lose this. It's okay. It's perfectly fine if he loses this. It's totally fine if he loses this. I mean, he's an older guy that I don't really see making it to the main roster. I hope that proves me wrong, but I don't see him on the main roster. I think he'll be a guy who will stay on the NXT brand, and he'll probably retire in NXT. He'll probably go into the Royal Rumble at some point. I just see him being a guy to get over whatever babyface. Like I see Apollo Crews going over on Samoa Joe. I see Finn Balor going over. Not Finn Balor. I see Baron Corbin going over Samoa Joe. I see these up-and-comers going over on Samoa Joe. It's not like I see Tommaso Ciampa going over or Johnny Gargano going over, but like the special ones, the specific ones. Maybe, who's coming back? Sami Zayn. He got to go over on Joe. And I think that's what Joe is. Joe is basically Bray Wyatt of NXT. So it's completely fine. If he was younger, it'd be a different story. But he's in a position where he has a lot of cred, and he has a lot. He could take a licking, and why not go out putting people over? I don't see why Joe would have a problem with that. I think he's had a pretty good career, and he could end it better by launching new stars, like a Jericho, for instance, but not to the level of Jericho. But you see what I'm saying. If he remains heel, if they get him out of the whole Kevin Owens sort of bag, where he's just a prize fighter, just a guy who just wants to fight for the belt. And that is Peter Talks NXT Takeover London. Thank you so much for checking this out. I mean, whew. It's funny. We're about to go into a dip in wrestling for the next couple of weeks. Next week we have the Slammies. Tomorrow I have a SmackDown to do, Peter Talks SmackDown, but you have the Slammies. You got you got an ROH pay-per-view coming up, and then I'm thinking there's maybe another pay-per-view. Maybe there's something from PWG coming up, not PWG, but from New Japan coming up soon. But this is like big blow-off period. This is the big blow-off period. We just had TLC, we just had Takeover. Again, we got a Ring of Honor. I have something of Honor fucking coming up. AJ Styles versus Jay Lethal. And then we got Wrestle Kingdom coming up pretty soon. So big blow-off moment, a lot of wrestling to talk about, but for the most part, it's everyone scrapping for new storylines. It's just a new storyline period. With the WWE, we got the new champion. With Roman Reigns, you got SmackDown moving to USA. You got TNA on Pop. You got just ROH still ROH and New Japan and PWG locking horns to basically form an alliance. Something we talked about last week. I mean, they may as well become an alliance. And then we have Lucha Underground returning. So January is going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be a lot of podcasts, a lot of podcasts coming up. So hit the subscription below. For people who are new listening or watching, thank you so much for checking everything out, man. I got nothing but wrestling to talk about. I saw today I have like 250 videos. I'm pretty proud of that. I got nothing but wrestling to talk about. Nothing but wrestling. I think maybe at some point, maybe going into the new year, I'm gonna start talking sports too. But some whatever. That's for the whatever. But hit the subscription button below. If you're listening on iTunes, if you're listening on Stitcher, if you're listening on SoundCloud, if you're listening on Podbean, what you want to do, folks, is just put us in your subscription, your favorites list, or whatever. Again, Monday is Peter's Raw Recap. We got the New Day podcast with me and Nathan Newman. We got Peter and Jake Talks Wrestling. We got Peter's Peter Talks SmackDown. So subscribe. Also hit. You get Peter specials too, like this. I review pay-per-views or special events of other promotions outside of WWE. And then thumbs up, all that thing, heart. Leave a comment. Add me, PJTW Central. Again, that's PJTW Central. And share. Hit that share button, man. Hit that loop. Send that shit. Put it on your Facebook. Tweet it out. Do whatever you can to help Instagram the motherfucker. Because as many listeners I can get, the better. I don't get paid off this, by the way. And I don't see myself as like some wrestling mind. I'm just a guy with an opinion. So this is just a labor of love. There's no Amazon links or, there's no GoFundMe or nothing like this. It's just me and this thing right here, this fucking iPad and my busted ass computer and this microphone and me reading notes off this shitty ass fucking phone. I'm not into spoilers. I'm not like, someone who's like the voice of whatever. I'm not an elitist when it comes to this shit. I'm just a guy with a bunch of opinions. And if you're willing to listen, I'm willing to share. So, and on that note, yeah, and speaking of share, please share. And I would love new subscribers and new listeners. I see the count picking up, man. Shout out to Nathan Newman. Shout out to Keita and Jay. Shout out to Jake. Shout out to all the homies listening. All right, everyone, enjoy the rest of your weekend. Go Panthers. Watch out for those foreign objects.